Up and operating a stealth account on eBay or PayPal, one of the most important things that you have to think about is how to protect yourself from being linked with any previous accounts that you may have used. And one of the things that you absolutely must do is make sure that you're using a new IP number and that your new IP address never gets revealed to them when you connect to their websites, either during setup or in the normal use of your stealth accounts. As well as that, you need to make sure that your connection to their accounts does not in any way look suspicious. What I mean by suspicious is, although they may not be able to see your actual IP address because you may be using a VPN, for example, if your connection looks to them like you are trying to hide your identity, that is to say, if they can see that you're using a VPN or a proxy or some other tactic for cloaking your identity or trying to avoid being tracked, that will look suspicious to them as well. And you may get in trouble in terms of having your account reviewed or investigated, possibly limited for that reason. So firstly, what I want to show you is what their website looks at when you connect to them. That is to say, I'm using a service here which checks for all of the possible different details which could be used by a site like eBay or PayPal to try to identify you, that is your connection, your web browser's configuration, and so on, and match you with records that they have of your web browser that you used before, as well as your IP address. So let's see what it looks like when I don't do anything to my internet connection. I don't add a VPN, I don't attempt to change anything, I haven't reconfigured my web browser in any way to try to hide my identity. Just to let you know, I am connecting to the internet from China, which is where I reside. And let's see what the check looks like when we run it on my normal internet connection. Okay, so what we can see here is that it shows that my internet service provider is in China, in Shanxi province. It says we can verify the accuracy of this information, whether or not it is really true, whether or not you are using a proxy, anonymizer, VPN server, Tor, or any other means of anonymization. What you see here is all the criteria that they check for and see what kind of results it gives. If there were yes on any of these criteria, that would be a potential red flag to a website such as eBay or PayPal that you were doing something suspicious to hide your identity from them. But in this case, we have completely thumbs up throughout the entire list. It says we did not find any anonymization tools, nothing suspicious. Probability of anonymization, 0. 0. So in effect, it's showing that there's no likelihood that I'm using any sort of tactics, any sort of VPN or proxy or anything like that to try to hide my identity from them. And that is exactly true because, as I said, I haven't done anything to my connection to alter it or to mask it. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is turn on my VPN and see what the results look like then. So right now, what I'm going to do is connect through ExpressVPN to an IP server in Denver in the United States. Now, normally, what I would be trying to do here is use the VPN to mask my IP address. And The results that we see here show us that my IP address has been masked and replaced with another one, which is coming out of a server in Denver, Colorado. However, the problem with these results is that they indicate that I'm doing something suspicious to achieve that result. As you see here, I have an open web proxy port. Here, there's a difference in time zones between my web browser and the time zone and time indicated by the IP number that I'm using. Now, this here particularly is a red flag to anyone who knows what they're looking at, which tells them that I'm not actually logging in from the place that I'm claiming to be in. And that indicates that I'm doing something to try to hide my actual location. What we see down here is it shows that I have a VPN fingerprint, which to anyone who knows what they're looking for, they understand that this means that I am using a VPN, which means that I'm trying to hide my identity. If we look at the final result of this test, it says you are using anonymization tools, but we could not find your real IP address. Probability of anonymization, 99%. What that means, if it were eBay or PayPal, their computer systems would interpret this as meaning that I am definitely doing something suspicious, that I am definitely trying to hide my location and my identity by using a VPN. And of course, that would be no good if you were using a stealth account, trying to access your account or even register it, and they got this kind of result, you would definitely get blocked. Perhaps what I really should say there is that this kind of activity is going to be looked at as suspicious, and they may not block you today and they may not block you tomorrow, but it's most likely going to go into a database reflecting suspicious activity coming from your account. They may give you a certain amount of leeway for a certain period of time, but if you were to log in several times in this scenario under these conditions, eventually that will get you into trouble, and probably sooner than later. So clearly, just using the VPN is no good for our purposes of trying to stay under the radar. What we need to do is something else. And I'm going to show you what happens after I've made a few adjustments. What I've done here is I've changed the web browser to one that I can configure more securely for these purposes. And I have made a small adjustment to my operating system as well. And in addition to all that, I'm still using the Denver VPN. However, I've added to that another IP address, which is a static IP address that I'm now using. So let's see what happens now when we do the check and check the results. Okay, now that the check is done, what we can see now is a set of perfect results. You see no red thumbs down like we saw in the last stage. You can see that there are no errors whatsoever. Everything checks out clean. All green thumbs up. There's no indication of a time difference. There's no indication about a VPN or proxy being used. And if we go to the end in the summary, it says we did not find any anonymization tools, nothing suspicious. Probability of anonymization, 0. This looks exactly like the results I got when I connected from my everyday normal internet connection from China. And it looks just like right now I'm logging in from my everyday normal connection in Kansas City, Missouri. So This type of result to someone like eBay or PayPal's systems gives no reason for their systems to flag my account as having suspiciously logged in. It looks just like a normal user logging in from anywhere in the USA. The ironic thing is, I'm doing everything I can to cloak my identity. I'm using heavily the anonymization tools at my disposal to hide my location and my identity, but they would be none the wiser. That's exactly what you want when you're using a stealth account, giving them every reason to believe that you're doing everything completely normally, while at the same time completely hiding your identity and your location. As far as exactly how I do this, I explained this in the supplemental PDF after the video,